I poured my blood, sweat, and every cent from selling my Saanich home into my son's dream of fancy Victoria house. But on Father's Day, he tossed his father-in-law keys to a $60,000 SUV, sparkling like a slap in my face, while I got a $3,000 mortgage bill and a cold threat: pay up, or it's the nursing home for you. My sacrifice, my scars from Kandahar, my life erased for their laughter and luxury. The pain, it's a knife twisting deeper than any wound I've known. And this is how I clawed my dignity back. Watch to the end, smash that like button, and tell me your story below. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from, whether it's somewhere beautiful in Canada or anywhere else in this amazing world. My name is William Fraser, a 65-year-old veteran of the Canadian Armed Forces. I carried the weight of Kandahar's dust and gunfire for years, but nothing hit harder than the betrayal waiting in my son's Victoria home. 5 years ago, my Ellen, my anchor through 40 years of marriage, slipped away in our Saanich bedroom, her hand cold in mine. The house, with its creaky porch and garden where she grew roses, held every memory of her laughter. But Ethan, my only son, and his wife Sophie convinced me to sell it. "Dad, move in with us," Ethan said, his voice warm back then, at their oak bay kitchen table. "We'll be a family again." I believed him. That $200,000 CAD from the sale became their down payment on a sleek, modern house overlooking the Strait of Juan de Fuca. I thought I'd be part of their life, not just their bank account. For a while, it felt right. We'd watch hockey games, cheering for the Canucks, and I'd tell stories of my deployments over coffee. Sophie even hung my service medals in the guest room, my room painted in Ellen's favorite blue. But the warmth faded. Ethan stopped asking about my day. Sophie's smiles turned to sharp glances when I left a mug in the sink. "William, we need that $3,000 CAD mortgage payment by Monday," she'd snap, her voice colder than a February wind off the Pacific. I paid, draining my $2,200 CAD pension and dipping into savings, while they bought designer furniture and planned vacations. I wasn't family anymore, just a tenant, a checkbook, a burden they tolerated. My medals gathered dust, and Ellen's roses were long gone. I thought I'd found a home, but I'd walked into a trap. The first cracks appeared in the spring, like ice breaking on the gorge waterway. I'd wake to the smell of coffee in Ethan and Sophie's Victoria home, but the warmth I'd once felt was gone, replaced by a chill that settled in my bones. Ethan, my son, used to sit with me, asking about my time in Afghanistan, his eyes wide as I recounted nights under Kandahar's stars. Now, he barely looked up from his phone. "Dad, you're in the way," he muttered one morning, brushing past me in the kitchen to grab his latte. His words stung sharper than shrapnel, cutting through the pride I'd carried as a father. I stood there, clutching my $2.50 CAD mug of instant coffee, wondering when I'd become furniture. Sophie was worse. Her sharp glances had turned into commands. "William, your boots are tracking mud again," she snapped one rainy April day, her voice slicing through the hum of the dishwasher. I'd just walked back from the Royal Canadian Legion, my arthritis screaming after the 2-kilometer trek. I cleaned the floor in silence, my hands shaking not from age but from the weight of her disdain. "We need that $3,000 CAD mortgage payment by Monday," she added, not even looking at me, her fingers tapping on a tablet displaying a $1,200 CAD designer lamp. I paid every month, draining my $2,200 CAD pension and pulling $800 CAD from savings that dwindled like sand through my fingers. Meanwhile, their garage filled with new toys, a $500 CAD espresso machine, a $2,000 CAD patio set, while I mended my socks to save a few bucks. The evenings told the real story. We used to share dinners, laughing over plates of salmon and stories about Victoria's summer festivals. Now, I ate alone in my room, a microwaved meal on a tray, while their voices drifted through the walls, planning trips to Tofino or Whistler. "William, we ate early," Sophie would say if I asked, her tone dismissing me like a stranger. One night, I overheard Ethan on the phone with Gordon McLean, Sophie's father. "Don't worry, Dad. We've got you covered for Father's Day," he said, his voice brimming with warmth I hadn't heard in months. I sat in my blue-walled room, Ellen's favorite color, staring at her photo on the nightstand. Her smile seemed to ask, "When did we lose him, William?" I had no answer. The isolation grew heavier. My service medals, once proudly displayed, were pushed behind a stack of Sophie's yoga magazines. My favorite armchair in the living room disappeared under Ethan's golf bags. "William, can you keep the television lower?" Sophie barked one evening, though the volume was barely a whisper, tuned to a CBC documentary about veterans. I turned it off, the silence louder than any explosion I'd faced overseas. By May, I was a ghost in their house, tiptoeing to avoid their irritation. I stopped using the main bathroom after Sophie reorganized my toiletries into a plastic bin under the sink. "We need space for guests," she explained, her eyes avoiding mine. Guests, not family. The worst came one quiet evening in June. I was reading in my room, a book on Vimy Ridge, when their voices slipped through the vent. "William's pension barely covers the mortgage," Ethan said, his tone clipped. "If he can't keep up, maybe a care home in Esquimalt would be better." Sophie's laugh was sharp, like glass breaking. "He's lucky we let him stay." My heart stopped, the book slipping from my hands. Lucky? I'd sold my home, Ellen's home, for their $200,000 CAD down payment. I'd given up my independence, my memories, to be their safety net. And now, I was a burden to be managed, a line item in their budget. I gripped Ellen's photo, her eyes steady as ever. "What do I do, love?" I whispered. The room felt smaller, the walls closing in like a foxhole. I wasn't just invisible, I was expendable. Father's Day was coming, and with it, a storm I couldn't yet see. The air in Ethan and Sophie's Victoria home grew heavier, like the calm before a Pacific storm. I, William Fraser, had become a shadow, my presence reduced to a monthly $3,000 CAD check for their mortgage. But in late June, the knife of betrayal twisted deeper, carving wounds no battlefield ever could. One evening, as rain battered the windows, I shuffled to the kitchen for a glass of water, my arthritis flaring from the damp. Voices leaked from the dining room, sharp and unguarded. "William's dragging us down," Sophie hissed, her words slicing through the patter of rain. "If he can't pay, we'll move him to that care home in Oak Bay. It's cheaper." Ethan's voice followed, low and callous. "Yeah, his pension's barely enough. We can't keep carrying him." Carrying me? I'd sold my Saanich home, Ellen's home, for their $200,000 CAD down payment. My hands trembled, gripping the counter, as their words burned like napalm. I retreated to my room, the blue walls mocking me with memories of Ellen's warmth. The next morning, I found a letter shoved under my door, a bank statement, addressed to me, but not meant for my eyes. My heart sank as I read it. A $50,000 CAD loan, taken out in my name, without my knowledge, to fund their new hardwood floors and a custom kitchen island. The paper shook in my hands, each line a betrayal deeper than the last. I'd been counting pennies for groceries, buying $5 CAD bags of oats to stretch my meals, while they remodeled their palace with my credit. "How could you, Ethan?" I whispered to the empty room, my voice cracking like driftwood. I clutched Ellen's photo, her silver frame cold against my palms. Her eyes seemed to plead, "Don't let them break you, William." I confronted them that evening, my voice steady despite the storm inside. "Ethan, Sophie, what's this loan?" I held up the statement, my fingers white-knuckled. Sophie's face hardened, her eyes narrowing like a predator's. "Don't make a fuss, William. It's just business. We needed upgrades to sell this place someday." Ethan didn't even look up from his phone. "You're part of this family, Dad. You should want to help." Help? I'd given them everything, my home, my savings, my pride, and they'd forged my name like I was nothing. "This is my life you're gambling with," I said, my voice rising, a soldier's edge cutting through. Sophie rolled her eyes. "You're dramatic. Just keep paying the mortgage, and we're fine." The dismissal was a punch to the gut, worse than any firefight I'd faced. I sat alone that night, the rain outside mirroring the chaos in my chest. My service medals, tucked behind Sophie's magazines, stared at me like forgotten comrades. I'd survived war, but this being reduced to a tool my sacrifices mocked was a wound that bled deeper. I opened my old journal, where I'd written letters to Ellen during deployments. "They've taken everything, love," I murmured, tracing her photo. "Even my name." The realization hit like a mortar. I wasn't just a burden. I was prey. They'd planned this, counting on my silence, my loyalty. Father's Day was days away, and I knew it would bring no reprieve, just another chance for them to flaunt their gratitude to Gordon McLean while I paid for their excess. The pain was unbearable, a raw, gaping void where family should have been. I wasn't sure how much more I could take, but something inside, forged in the deserts of Afghanistan, refused to break. Father's Day dawned with a deceptive calm, the victorious sun spilling golden light across the Strait of Juan de Fuca. But inside Ethan and Sophie's home, my heart was a battlefield. I, William Fraser, a 65-year-old veteran who'd faced death in Kandahar, stood at the mirror, smoothing my best flannel shirt, hoping for a flicker of the family I'd lost. The pain of their betrayal, the $50,000 CAD loan forged in my name, their whispers of shipping me to a care home gnawed at me, but I clung to a fragile hope that today, Father's Day, might mend the rift. I polished my service medals, their weight a reminder of sacrifices Ethan and Sophie would never understand, and descended the stairs, each step heavy with anticipation. The kitchen buzzed with Sophie's preparations, her laughter bright as she spoke on the phone. "Gordon, you're going to love this Father's Day surprise," she chirped, her voice warm in a way I hadn't heard since Ellen's death. I paused in the doorway, unnoticed, my heart lifting at the thought of a celebration that might include me. Ethan bustled in, carrying a tray of Nanaimo bars, his smile reserved for someone else. "Dad's going to flip when he sees it," he said, not even glancing my way. My chest tightened. Gordon McLean, Sophie's father, was the star of their show, not me. Dinner was a spectacle, the dining room glowing with candles and the good china, a rare sight in their Oak Bay home. Gordon and his wife, Marlene, arrived, their faces alight with warmth I hadn't felt in months. "William, good to see you," Gordon said, gripping my hand like an old comrade. I forced a smile, taking my seat at the table's edge, my place setting plain compared to Gordon's, framed by fresh lilies. The meal roast beef, crisp asparagus was exquisite, but every bite tasted like ash. Ethan and Sophie fawned over Gordon, refilling his glass, laughing at his stories of fishing in Cowichan Bay. I sat silent, my fork heavy, waiting for a nod, a word, anything to acknowledge me as a father. Then it came. Sophie stood, her champagne glass catching the candlelight like a beacon. "Happy Father's Day, Gordon," she announced, her voice theatrical. Ethan slid a velvet box across the table, revealing keys that gleamed like a taunt. "It's a $60,000 CAD SUV, fully loaded for you, Dad," he said, his chest puffed with pride. Gordon's jaw dropped, Marlene gasped, and the room erupted in applause. My heart stopped, the air sucked from my lungs. $60,000, 2 years of my pension, blood money from my sacrifices handed to Gordon while I scraped by on $5 CAD bags of rice. I cleared my throat, my voice barely a whisper. "Ethan, what about me? Don't I get something?" The table fell silent, all eyes on Sophie. Her gaze met mine, cold as a January tide. "William, the mortgage is due Monday. $3,000, CAD. That's what you're here for." The words landed like a grenade, shredding what was left of my hope. Ethan shifted uncomfortably but said nothing, his silence a louder betrayal. Gordon's fork froze. Marlene's smile faltered, but Sophie's face was stone. "Don't make this about you," she added, her voice a blade. I stared at my son, the boy I'd raised through Ellen's miscarriages, the man I'd given my home for, and saw a stranger. "I see," I said, my voice steady despite the inferno inside. I pushed back my chair, the scrape echoing like a gunshot, and walked to my room, clutching Ellen's photo. The celebration resumed behind me, their laughter a mocking chorus. Father's Day had shown me the truth. I was no father to them, just a debt to be paid. The Father's Day dinner left a wound that no battlefield could match. I, William Fraser, stood in my small room in Ethan and Sophie's Victoria home, the blue walls suffocating me like a trench. The echo of Sophie's words, "William, the mortgage is due Monday. That's what you're here for," burned hotter than Kandahar's sun. My service medals, hidden behind Sophie's yoga magazines, glinted faintly in the lamplight, mocking my sacrifices. I'd sold my Saanich home for their $200,000 CAD down payment, paid $3,000 CAD monthly from my $2,200 CAD pension, and endured their $50,000 CAD loan forged in my name. Yet, to them, I was nothing but a checkbook, a burden to be tossed aside for a $60,000 CAD SUV gifted to Gordon McLean. The pain was a tidal wave, but beneath it, a soldier's resolve stirred. I wouldn't break, not here, not now. I sat on the edge of my bed, Ellen's silver-framed photo in my hands. Her eyes, steady as the Pacific horizon, seemed to whisper, "You're stronger than this, William." I traced the frame, my fingers trembling with rage and clarity. I'd survived war, loss, and Ellen's death, but I wouldn't survive being their pawn. The decision crystallized like ice. I was done. No more payments, no more silence, no more shrinking to fit their world. I opened my journal, the one I'd kept through deployments, and wrote a note, each word a bullet. "Ethan, Sophie, I'm stopping the mortgage payments. You've taken enough my home, my trust, my name. Find your own way. William Fraser." I placed it on the kitchen counter, weighted by a single loonie, a final jab at their greed. Packing was surgical, a soldier's precision guiding my hands. I folded my clothes, flannel shirts, worn jeans into a battered suitcase, each item a piece of the life I'd reclaim. My service medals went in next, their weight grounding me. I left behind the watch Ethan gave me last Christmas, its leather band untouched, a gift laced with strings I'd never seen. Ellen's photo was the last to pack, wrapped in a scarf she'd knitted during our first Victoria winter. "We're leaving, love," I whispered, my voice steady now. The house was silent, Ethan and Sophie upstairs, likely toasting Gordon's new SUV with wine I'd never tasted. The clock read 1 a.m., the Victoria streets dark beyond my window. I opened my phone, the screen glowing with a taxi app. A driver was 5 minutes away. Destination, a motel in Esquimalt, $25 CAD for a night's freedom. I carried my suitcase down the hall, each step lighter, as if shedding the chains of their entitlement. The front door loomed, a portal to a life I'd forgotten I deserved. I paused, glancing back at the dining room, where candle wax still clung to the table from their celebration. "This isn't home," I said aloud, my voice firm, a soldier's command to himself. The door closed with a soft click. No dramatics, just finality. The taxi's headlights cut through the rain, and I slid into the back seat. The driver's, "Where to, sir?" A question I hadn't answered for myself in years. "Esquimalt, the Harbor Inn," I said, my heart pounding not with fear but with purpose. The city blurred past Beacon Hill Park, the lights of the inner harbor, each landmark a promise of something new. I wasn't running. I was advancing, like I had in Afghanistan, toward a fight worth winning. The motel's neon sign flickered as we pulled up, its $80 CAD nightly rate a small price for liberation. I stepped out, suitcase in hand, the rain cool on my face. For the first time in months, I breathed freely, the weight of their betrayal lifting. Ellen's photo pressed against my chest, a reminder of who I was before they made me forget. Father's Day had broken me, but this night rebuilt me. I was William Fraser, veteran, father, survivor, and I was done being their ATM. The Harbor Inn in Esquimalt was no palace, but its $80 CAD a night room felt like freedom to me. William Fraser, a 65-year-old veteran who'd just walked away from my son's betrayal. The rain-soaked night I left Ethan and Sophie's Victoria home, leaving behind a note that ended my $3,000 CAD monthly mortgage payments, had ignited a fire in me. Their $60,000 CAD SUV gift to Gordon McLean and the $50,000 CAD loan forged in my name were wounds that festered, but I wasn't done fighting. By Monday morning, my phone buzzed with 2-3 missed calls, Ethan's number, Sophie's, even one from Gordon, but I silenced it, my resolve as unyielding as the Pacific cliffs. I'd survive Kandahar. I'd survive this. The battle was moving to new ground, the law. I found Patricia Cole's office in downtown Victoria, a modest suite on the 10th floor of a glass building overlooking the inner harbor. Patricia, a sharp-eyed lawyer with a reputation for cutting through nonsense, listened as I laid out my story. The $200,000 CAD from my Sonic home sale, the forged loan, the mortgage demands, the Father's Day humiliation, her pen-scratched notes, her face hardening when I showed her the bank statement with my name tied to Ethan's $50,000 CAD debt. "This is fraud, William," she said, her voice steady but laced with outrage. "They used your credit without consent. We can sue for damages and cut off any claim to your assets." My heart pounded, not with fear but with purpose. "Do it," I said, my voice a soldier's command. "They've taken enough." Patricia worked fast, drafting a lawsuit that same day. The claim demanded repayment of the $50,000 CAD loan, compensation for emotional distress, and a formal end to my financial obligations to Ethan and Sophie. I sat in her office, the city's lights glinting through the window, and signed each page with a steady hand, the ink sealing a line I'd never cross again. Ellen's photo, tucked in my jacket, felt like a silent ally. "We're taking our life back, love," I whispered, my breath fogging the glass. But the real test came sooner than I expected. 2 days later, as I sipped $2 CAD coffee at a Tim Hortons near the motel, Ethan and Sophie stormed in, their faces a mix of panic and fury. They'd been served the lawsuit papers that morning, a legal grenade lobbed into their perfect world. "Dad, what the hell are you doing?" Ethan hissed, slamming his hand on the table, his $200 CAD jacket creasing. Sophie stood behind him, arms crossed, her eyes blazing. "You can't sue us, William. We're family." "Family?" The word was a mockery, a knife twisted in the scars of Father's Day. I leaned back, my voice low and hard as granite. Family doesn't forge loans in my name, Sophie. Family doesn't trade my home for a $60,000 CAD SUV while I'm left with bills. Ethan's face reddened, his voice rising. We needed that loan for the house. You were supposed to help us. Help? I stood, my height towering despite my age, my voice cutting through the cafe's hum. I sold my home, Ellen's home, for your $200,000 CAD down payment. I paid $3,000 CAD a month while you bought luxury. You called me a burden, planned to dump me in a care home. That's not family, that's theft. Sophie's eyes darted away, but Ethan stepped closer, desperation cracking his bravado. Dad, please, drop the lawsuit. We'll lose everything. I looked at my son, the boy I'd carried through Ellen's darkest days, and saw only entitlement. You already lost me, I said, my words final as a judge's gavel. I walked out, the bell above the door ringing like a victory. Back at the motel, I stared at the lawsuit papers, my signature bold against the white. Patricia had warned me. The case could take months, but the loan was voidable, and my pension was safe. For the first time since Ellen's death, I felt control, not chaos. The pain of their betrayal still burned, but it fueled me now. I wasn't just fighting for justice, I was fighting for the man I'd been before they made me feel small. The next battle, Father's Day's aftermath, had shown me who they were. This lawsuit would show them who I am. The lawsuit I, William Fraser, filed against Ethan and Sophie was a line drawn in the sand, a declaration that the 65-year-old veteran who'd survived Kandahar wouldn't be their pawn any longer. The Victoria morning after my confrontation with them at Tim Hortons was crisp, the air carrying the salt of the Pacific as I walked to Beacon Hill Park, my suitcase still at the Harbor Inn. Their betrayal, the $60,000 CAD SUV for Gordon McLean, the $50,000 CAD loan forged in my name, the $3,000 CAD monthly mortgage demands had shattered me, but the fight with Patricia Cole, my lawyer, had forged something new: resolve. As I sat on a park bench, watching seagulls circle above, my phone buzzed again, 7 missed calls now, Ethan's desperation, a digital ghost I ignored. The consequences of their actions were coming, and I was ready to let them fall. Patricia called that afternoon, her voice calm but triumphant. William, the banks voided the $50,000 CAD loan. It was fraudulent, your signature was forged. Ethan and Sophie are liable for repayment. My heart surged, not with joy but with the cold satisfaction of justice. And the mortgage? I asked, my voice steady as the cliffs of Dallas Road. You're off the hook, she said. They missed 2 payments already. The bank's moving to foreclose. Their Oak Bay house, built on my $200,000 CAD sacrifice from selling my Saanich home, was slipping through their fingers. I leaned back, Ellen's photo in my jacket pocket, and felt her steady gaze. We did it, love, I whispered, the weight of months lifting like fog over the Strait of Juan de Fuca. By August, the news came via a letter from Patricia, tucked among bills at my motel. The house had been sold at auction for $750,000, CAD, barely covering their debts. Ethan and Sophie had moved to a cramped $1,500 CAD a month apartment in Langford, their lifestyle of designer lamps and Nanaimo bar trays a memory. I pictured Ethan's golf bag stuffed in a closet, Sophie's sharp glances dulled by the reality of their choices. They'd called, left voicemails, Sophie's voice tearful, Ethan's pleading. Dad, we're sorry. Come back, one message said. I deleted it, my finger steady. They weren't sorry for me. They were sorry for themselves, for the $60,000 CAD SUV repossessed, for the dream they'd built on my back. Their marriage, Patricia's sources said, was fraying, strained by arguments over money they'd never learned to manage without my pension. Meanwhile, I'd found my footing. With the lawsuit settled, I used my savings freed from their mortgage to buy a small $400,000 CAD bungalow near Beacon Hill Park. It had a garden, modest but mine, where I planted roses like Ellen's, their red petals, a quiet rebellion against the years I'd been erased. I joined the Royal Canadian Legion's Victoria branch, where veterans swapped stories over $3 CAD pints, their camaraderie a balm for wounds no one saw. One evening, as I tended my roses, a letter arrived from Gordon McLean. "William," it read, "Marlene and I returned the SUV. It wasn't right, knowing what they did to you. We're sorry." His words, handwritten on plain paper, carried the weight of decency. I folded the letter, my respect for Gordon intact, but my heart unmoved by Ethan and Sophie's world. "William, you're looking lighter." "Tom, a Legion buddy," said one night over darts. I nodded, tossing a dart that hit the bullseye. "I'm free," I said, my voice carrying a strength I'd rediscovered. The bungalow became my sanctuary, its walls untainted by Sophie's cold commands or Ethan's silence. I hung my service medals above the fireplace, their shine no longer hidden. Mornings brought coffee on my porch, the $10 CAD bag of beans a luxury I savored. I walked to the park, my arthritis eased by purpose, and read books on Canadian history, the pages unmarred by their indifference. Ellen's photo sat on my kitchen table, her smile a beacon. I was no longer the man who'd tiptoed in their house, shrinking to avoid their scorn. I was William Fraser, veteran, survivor, whole. Their downfall wasn't revenge, it was consequence. They'd gambled my sacrifice and lost. I'd gambled on myself and won. The roses bloomed, the Legion welcomed me, and Victoria's sunsets painted my evenings with hope. I'd found peace, not in their apologies, but in my own strength. October's chill settled over Victoria, the leaves in my Beacon Hill Park bungalow's garden turning the same red as Ellen's roses. I, William Fraser, a 6'5" veteran of Kandahar's deserts, stood on my porch, the $10 CAD coffee in my mug warming my hands. The scars of betrayal, Ethan and Sophie's $60,000 CAD SUV gift to Gordon McLean, the $50,000 CAD loan forged in my name, the $3,000 CAD mortgage demands that reduced me to a burden still lingered, but they no longer defined me. The lawsuit, guided by Patricia Cole's steady hand, had freed me from their financial chains. Their Oak Bay house, built on my $200,000 CAD sacrifice, was gone, sold at auction, and they now huddled in a $1,500 CAD a month Langford apartment, their dreams of luxury buried under the weight of their choices. I'd walked away, not in defeat, but in triumph, a soldier reclaiming his ground. My new life was quiet, deliberate, like the tides of the Strait of Juan de Fuca. Each morning, I tended my garden, the roses blooming as if Ellen herself were guiding their petals. The Royal Canadian Legion became my second home, where I shared stories of Afghanistan over $3 CAD pints, my service medals now gleaming above my fireplace, no longer hidden by Sophie's magazine. I'd learned a truth sharper than any bayonet. Family isn't obligation. It's respect, mutual and earned. Ethan and Sophie had seen me as a tool, not a father. Their entitlement, a poison that turned love into debt. But I'd found something stronger myself. This wasn't revenge. It was justice. The kind that comes when you stop letting others define your worth. I think of Gordon McLean's letter, his refusal of the SUV, a rare act of decency in a story of greed. I think of Ellen, her photo now on my kitchen table, her smile a reminder that love endures, even when family fails. My bungalow, small but mine, is a sanctuary where I choose my days, walks in Beacon Hill Park, books on Vimy Ridge, evenings watching Canucks games with Legion friends. The $400,000 CAD I spent on this home was an investment in me, not them. I've learned to live for the man I am, not the father they expected me to be. Pain taught me this. You can give everything, but you must never give up yourself. Standing here, under Victoria's wide sky, I see the path clearly. Betrayal cuts deep, but it also carves space for freedom. To every veteran, every parent, every soul who's felt erased by those they love, your worth isn't in what you give, but in who you are. Hold fast to that, and no one can take it away. My roses bloom, my metals shine, and my heart, once broken, beats strong. I'm William Fraser, and I'm home. If this story touched you, if it stirred something in your heart, please hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment below, tell me your story, your fight, your victory. And if you want more stories of truth and triumph, subscribe to Maple Revenge. Let's walk this journey together.